Chris McNally, known for his role as Lucas on When Calls the Heart, recently shared insights into the evolving storyline of his character from Season 6 to Season 11. McNally revealed that new details about Lucas's backstory surprised him, especially regarding Jeannette, a character introduced in Season 6. Despite his initial shock, McNally is pleased with the direction the storyline has taken. In an interview with Suspenders Unbuttoned, McNally discussed the evolving nature of Lucas's character and backstory. He expressed surprise at some of the changes, particularly those that added new layers to Lucas's past. Around 21:55 into the interview, McNally described his initial reaction. "It can be startling when you read something and go, I didn't realize that about my past. This is new information for me," he said with a laugh. "But then once that subsides, it's great. It allows you to stretch and sort of thicken the backstory that you have for your own character. And When Calls the Heart has been going on for so long. I haven't been there for the whole time, obviously, but I still think my tenure there has been long enough that you now have a very short of complex character development to draw from and to keep adding to. So, when things like this are brought up about your backstory, it's fun to sort of unpack it and analyze it and see how that might factor into how you approach senses in that season and move onwards and adjust." When the show hinted that Lucas might have been engaged before meeting Elizabeth, McNally admitted he felt a bit defensive about this development. He was particularly surprised that Lucas hadn't mentioned this supposed engagement to Elizabeth, which felt out of character. However, his concerns were alleviated once he saw how the storyline unfolded. "I was surprised by that because Lucas hadn't said anything to Elizabeth," he said. "I felt defensive of Lucas, but then I read the next episode and realized, oh, okay, Jeannette was just trying to twist it." McNally also shared that his understanding of Jeannette's character has significantly evolved since her introduction in Season 6. Initially, he perceived her as a platonic friend whom Lucas had helped during a difficult time. Around 16:45 into the interview, McNally recounted the original backstory. "The story has changed with different show writers, he said. When Alonso Moreno was showrunner, when I first joined When Calls the Heart, Jeannette was mentioned as an old friend of his and that he had helped her in a bind when she owed money to this loan shark, to Amos Dixon, and that he tried to kill her and burned her place down, and Lucas just barely got her out of there on time." As new writers joined the show and added layers to the storyline, McNally's perception of Jeannette evolved. Initially, he viewed her relationship with Lucas as strictly platonic, even imagining a close friendship with her late husband. Around 18:47 into the interview, he clarified. "For me, it wasn't sort of a Bonnie and Clyde situation," McNally explained. "It was a good platonic friend of mine that I cared for deeply, and she was a widow whose husband passed, so I had in my mind that I knew her husband. Now that I'm saying this, I'm hoping that I'm not contradicting things that were scripted back in Season 6 or 7 that I've forgotten about. It was more like a friend, whose safety he cared about and well-being he cared about very strongly at that point when we shot 6. Despite the initial surprises, McNally has enjoyed the evolving complexity of his character and Jeannette's backstory. The shift from a simple platonic friendship to a more intricate and possibly romantic past has added depth to Lucas's character. He even enjoyed the creative process behind this evolution, including a photo shoot that depicted Lucas and Jeannette in a Bonnie and Clyde style dynamic. So, Chris McNally's experience with the evolving storyline of Lucas on When Calls the Heart reflects the dynamic nature of long-running television series. The changes in Lucas's backstory and his relationship with Jeannette have added richness to his character, making the role more challenging and rewarding for McNally. Despite the initial shock and defensiveness, McNally appreciates the complexity these changes bring, contributing to a more nuanced and engaging portrayal of Lucas.